and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We got 8 games here on a Wednesday main slate, James. DraftKings cutting off the 10:30 game from the slate. So 8 games starting at 7 o'clock, Minnesota, Boston. 8:30 is your late night hammer, New Orleans versus Golden State. A lot of news coming through today already. A lot of news we are still waiting on. Overall, it should be a pretty fun one here.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Some major names obviously not involved in this slate. Prince, shout out to you. First, look at you, buddy. Look at you. Early. First time you've been able to
already in the chat. Love having you guys in here with us today.
Salute to you guys. Yeah, I mean, Embiid and Halliburton obviously being out tips the slate. We got the Porzingis midday downgrade, which you and I kind of speculated something there in Boston with a conference game against Milwaukee looming tomorrow.
He's no Al Horford tomorrow versus Milwaukee.
No Al Horford unless he gets cleared, right, to play back-to-backs, which
I don't even think he's injured. I think it's just old man syndrome here, right?
Yeah, it's old man. Yeah, so at least Porzingis should in fact be there tomorrow. I figured if there was a day for Drew to sit, it would be today with Milwaukee on the schedule tomorrow, right? So that is interesting. John, I don't know if you heard this. There is an interesting note that I saw today, which makes me and this is probably more so for bettors. Minnesota, as you know, you're in an area in the country close to where the Boston Celtics play that had bad weather. And have you heard this? But Minnesota was unable to fly last night after their game. They also just got to Boston this afternoon. That is not great for them because, routines are a thing not in sports, like routines in your life, in your day-to-day life. Athletes are top of the spectrum freak level when it comes to routines and how they want to go about their day. When you arrive to the city you're playing out in the afternoon, the night is not a good thing, and especially when the team you're arriving to is undefeated at home. So that is bad news for Minnesota.
I thought you were going to go with the stat that the Minnesota Timberwolves actually haven't won in Boston since 2005.
No, that's just double whammy. Is that not? That's just arriving at a time where you have no chance to put together anything that you want to, mentally, physically, game planning, plus the fact that they can't win in Boston, which again, that is...
They beat a Ricky Davis Celtics team in 2005.
Hell yeah.
Last time.
Hell yeah. Ricky Davis. Shout out Ricky Davis. That was a good
try to get a double-double one time, shooting in its own hoop. Ricky Davis. Doesn't work that way, Ricky.
Never forget, Ricky.
No.
Never forget.
It should be a fun slate here. Obviously, game total-wise, we got Indiana, Washington on the slate. That's fun. No Tyrese Halliburton. For this game.
I think that should be
all over Nembhard.
I think that should be maybe a talking point though. When you think about a 252 total, that's I know Indiana is just bad defensively in general, but and I know TJ McConnell's good and stuff, but their offense, they're just not going to be as good without Tyrese Halliburton. So just going to throw that little nugget out there as well.
I did take Mathurin over 18.5 points tonight.
I just put out a tweet. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I've been putting out some ownership leaks every day. And I would find Ben Mathurin's ownership incredibly interesting today, considering there's no Tyrese Halliburton.
Right.
It's 1%. So we'll definitely talk about Mathurin and Indiana in general, because there is obviously a lot to talk about there. But yeah, that's the creme de la creme when it comes to game totals.
We also have a pretty interesting matchup, San Antonio, Detroit here. Detroit getting 3.5 points at home. It's very rare that we see Detroit, single-digit underdog of late. 238 game total on that one. They got out to gangbusters start last night and still managed to lose by 20. They were up 30 and lost by 20 during different stretches of that game. So we'll see what happens tonight. Obviously, San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama still on some sort of minutes limits. Played 26 minutes a couple times here, 27, I think, or 25, 27 the last game that he got out there. Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, pretty solid group there for San Antonio. On the flip side, we saw Bojan did last night, Jaden Ivey and crew. So that one should be a pretty fun matchup. Sacramento, Charlotte, 230 game total now, when that opened at 234. So that's kind of interesting for a Sacramento game, for a game total to be going down. Charlotte is an 8-point home dog. Miami, 4.5-point home dog against OKC here. Feels 233.5 game total for that one. Philly versus Atlanta, 245 game total. Atlanta, a 1-point home underdog after opening as a 2.5-point home favorite. DeJounte Murray got a midday downgrade in that game. Wondering if that has anything to do with the point swing there. But no Joel Embiid tonight for the 76ers. So obviously a big story there in that one. Houston versus Chicago. Chicago giving 4 at home. Does that feel a little weird to you that we have Chicago as a 4-point favorite here? 216.5 game total in that one. And then our last game here for the main slate, late night hammer, Golden State getting 2 at home, 234 game total against the Pelicans. Again, the way the Pelicans have been playing, no Chris Paul for Golden State, no Draymond still. It feels like that's a soft line for New Orleans.
It does feel soft, and there could obviously be value opening up in that game too, with statuses pending on
Right.
Zion and Jose Alvarado. On the Bulls front, John, just to mention, we don't have to dig too deep into this. We've talked about Houston at home and away from home this year. So I actually, on the Better Sports Betting Show today, I actually bet Bulls money line and Bulls plus 3.5. It was at the time, because they've been better at home and how bad Houston's been away from Houston in general. So just worth mentioning in that regard.
Nick Saban retiring. That was the breaking news that just got
Holy smokes. What is going on today with coaching?
Yeah, we're just waiting on the Belichick news at this point.
Faisal
in the chat saying what's up. Albert saying hello as well. Last time I played Mather, he scored 4 fantasy points. No, I get you. We've been frustrated by the Carlisle usage of Matherin, but the last 2 games that he's played, he's been really good. And obviously, now Halliburton. We're just assuming versus Washington, this would be a potential ceiling spot for him, but you never know how they're going to go about in using him. And Faisal wants to know, are we doing fair and balanced or stars and scrubs? He's building a lot more fair and balanced today. I mean, yeah, there in terms of like overall spend ups, I mean, SGA is your top price guy at 10.5, so you're probably finding yourself with a bit more of a fair and balanced build. Not that there isn't value on the slate, but I agree. Some of the builds we're getting to here, 4 7K guys, an 8K guy, and a couple 7K guys. You definitely don't need to spend all the way up for an SGA, a Tatum, Sabonis here on this slate.
Yeah, there's only one 10K player or I should say 9K or above player getting double-digit ownership, and it's 11%. And also, we missed I missed this yesterday. Well, I didn't. Sabonis, the comments that Jalen Duren made about Sabonis, I realized he took that personally.
Took that personally? Yeah.
Yeah. Jalen Duren said Sabonis is an easy cover, and that obviously didn't.
Well, he went 16 for 21, so
pretty easy, huh? Pretty easy.
No, don't know why these guys talk that way, but sometimes they do.
Yep.
Who was it that I said? Oh, it was a football last week. Someone said they have no respect for anybody on the team, and it's like that's a wild comment to say. Just
you're never playing for that. You're never playing for that team.
Right. Exactly.
You're never playing for that team in the future.
All right, let's get the NBA in here. Missed the Keegan Murray ceiling day yesterday for says Faisal. Yeah, I mean,
same.
Again, they were down 20.
They were down a lot in the first quarter. Yeah, it was crazy.
They just didn't miss in this basically from that point on. Point guard position here. SGA is your top price guys. Got Miami here again. OKC only giving 4 on the road. I know that they're not home, but SGA is pretty strong. OKC is a pretty good team. I don't know if you find yourself looking to spend up, as I mentioned. Not many people are spending up today. You got him, get Trae Young at $9,900 in that 245 game total with the 1 point spread. You get De'Aaron Fox on the back-to-back against Charlotte. You got Curry at home against the Pelicans. You got Edwards here at $9,100, kind of closing out your 9K and above tier.
I mean, if Murray sits, Trae Young is obviously one of the best, I think, per dollar plays of the slate. Sub 10K, no DeJounte. Trae's at 1.5 fantasy points per minute. He's at a 35% usage rate in that span. So, like, if we get the DeJounte news, that game's at 7:30. We should have it in time. Maybe not, but we should know. Of course, there's 4 games locking at 7, so that's unfortunate for us. But hopefully, we get the DeJounte news early. If not, like if DeJounte plays, like Trae is fine in tournaments. Same with SGA. I don't have a lot of this. No, Trae is probable difference. He's listed on the injury report.
Yeah.
So like you can play Fox, that's fine. I told you on last night's show, I don't have much interest in Curry. If you wanted to get there, you can. I think it's just the next tier for me, where the next 2 names actually are the most intriguing.
Maxey Rozier?
That's like where I'm starting my builds. I've just plugged Maxey and Rozier and kind of moved on. And that's not a surprise. No, they're very they're over 20% owned each of them, but they should be, right? Like we have Tyrese Maxey, no Joel Embiid. In a dream scenario, he plays 40 minutes, he takes 20 shots. He's a guy that has double-digit assist upside as well.
Yep.
And Terry Rozier, I mean, dude, like we know Terry Rozier is a good basketball player. Firsthand, like he was on the team that you're rooting for.
Yeah.
This is a different dude. Especially I was gonna say especially scoring. It's just everywhere. Like he has 34 actual in 3 of his last 4. He has taken a boatload of shots. He gets and makes all of his free throws when he gets there. Yep. He's knocking down threes. And then the peripheral stats are there as well. Like he's been great in the assist category. You'd have to go back to December 16th, the last time he's had less than 6 assists. And then before that, November 28th. Like he's just been everything and more. And now gets Sacramento on the second leg of a back-to-back after Sacramento had to work for that game last night. Like
second leg road back-to-back for Sacramento as well here. I took the Rozier over 26.5 points tonight as well. Felt like that was a good spot. Pace up, high total for them. Obviously Charlotte's been playing a little bit slower since LaMelo's been down, but this is a pace up spot for them against Sacramento here. And we know the defense that Sacramento doesn't play. So I like the Rozier over points. Maxey, obviously, pretty popular play today for a lot of reasons. Matchup against Atlanta and then no Embiid. When we work our way down into the mid 7K range, last night I was in on Vassell. I'm still kind of feeling Devin Vassell here at $7,300.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's priced appropriately. Like, I don't think there's any discount with Devin Vassell. I think that it's obviously good for Vassell to not have Wemby playing 30 plus minutes at this point.
Well, that's what I'm at, yeah.
I also think it's good for all parties involved that Trae Jones is starting, because Trae Jones we've talked about it a couple times, like he is a point guard. They've been playing sans an actual point guard for quite a while. And if you look at Devin Vassell's numbers, with Trae Jones on the floor, 1.19 fantasy points per minute this year with Trae Jones, 26% usage rate. Like, it's just one of those things that you put an actual point guard on the floor and surprise, surprise, like players benefit. It's almost a 3% usage bump. It's 0.2 DraftKings points higher than it is normally. So yeah, I mean, there's no discount on Vassell anymore. 7,300 is steep, but just look at the correlation. The last 2 games, ceiling scoring nights, not ceiling, but we do get 1 ceiling scoring night in Milwaukee and then 22 the next night, hitting 4 threes. Like, that's what people can do when they're playing alongside a traditional point guard. And Trey Jones is obviously providing that. So, yeah, I think Vassell, great spot against Detroit as well.
Yep. It's more so if you're looking for like some of those tournament plays. It feels like he's got a safe floor, given the pricing right now. But we've seen him go for 50. We've seen him go for over 40 the last couple of games there as well. Faisal mentioning that Cody Martin just got ruled out, as did PJ Washington for Charlotte. So, again, same situation Charlotte had the other day of guys being ruled out. Wants to know our thoughts on Nick Smith Jr. You mentioned, we'll obviously work our way to some value, but we can just jump to it because he asked. Yep. Nick Smith Jr. got some minutes here the other day, 32 minutes off the bench. Got to assume, McGowan starts, but Nick Smith Jr. is the one that actually plays the minutes here.
It's a plug and play. I think it's a plug and play, because if you're going to get a guy at 4,200, and it's not just like plug and play, whatever, right? First round pick, 15 shots in 32 minutes. Like, he's clearly a guy who's going to get on the floor and chuck. And they're just limited, dude. Like, they just don't have. Charlotte is reeling. I mean, now you're taking out two guys. So they're LaMelo, Hayward, Williams, Washington, Martin, Ntilikina, all out. Like, 5 of those guys have potential to play 25 to 30 minutes a night, or 35 minutes a night, right? Like, it's Nick Smith is a first round pick that, I mean, on the year, Nick Smith, let's look. 21.5% usage rate is incredibly solid for a guy that has played sparingly. Let's look when we remove some of these guys off the floor. LaMelo, Hayward. We're also missing PJ Washington. We're also missing Mark Williams. We're also missing Cody Martin. I don't know how much of a sample this is going to be, but let's take a look. Nick Smith, in that instance, 26% usage rate, 0.86 fantasy points per minute. You get a player at 4,200 that has a 26% usage rate that has a chance to play 30 minutes. That's the easiest plug and play of the day. Even if it doesn't come through, like, you don't see that. We're plugging guys like Jordan McLaughlin, right? At whatever his price is, $4,200.
Yeah, with Noah Conley tonight.
With no Conley, but who's to say Jordan McLaughlin takes 8 shots if he plays 24 minutes, right? Like, at least we know when someone has that high of a usage rate, it's very simple. They have the ball a lot. They take a lot of shots. So I think Nick Smith, to Faisal's comment, is kind of a plug and play, even if he's not starting at $4,200 in this spot against the Kings. For every reason we liked Rozier, to on a $4,000 less dollar scale, I like Nick Smith. Like, you can play them both. Obviously, they both had really good games the last time out.
I mean, again, it just helps to sort of build your lineups now, being able to plug in some of that value that's there. You mentioned liking Chicago. Do you like Kobe White the way he's been playing right now?
I don't know. Okay. I don't know what I like. Like, I don't know what I like from a DFS standpoint in Chicago, because
you just think Chicago's got better spot here?
I think Chicago is just as a team, with LaVine playing 30 plus minutes, with Vooch playing 30 plus minutes, with DeRozan continuing to facilitate, with Kobe White continuing to play well. I just don't have I know there was we would talk about the Bulls earlier when they were all healthy, right? And we'd say, well, just play the lowest zone of the big three. Well, now Kobe White's been playing as well, if not better. Sure. But when you put all 4 of them on the floor together this year, right? They've shared almost 400 minutes. Kobe White has 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy with a 18.5% usage rate. That's definitively 4th on that in that lineup, right? So eventually, I assume as early as today, the Bulls go back to the starting lineup of LaVine and Vooch, and then what happens with Kobe White? So maybe if Kobe White is starting without LaVine and Vooch, we get multiple stints without them on the floor with him and DeRozan, and that's fine. But especially with am I playing Kobe White at 72, or am I just he's taking up a spot that I could play Maxey, Rozier, or Nick Smith? So that's that. I think that ultimately that's what I run into with Kobe White.
If McConnell was to start today, where does he rank for you?
Overall, buddy. Oh, buddy. Per dollar, like up there with everybody else. I know he's not like cheap in any capacity, but like,
$6,700 on DraftKings.
dude, he played 25 minutes and closed that game against Boston the other day, right? And he had 30 fantasy points in 25 minutes. He's a 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy.
It's a stretch to play him anyways, but like it's tempting. Right?
It's tempting. It's for sure tempting. And you asked that question because both of our assumptions are Nembhard starts. Like that just
right. And ownership is, I mean, he's the highest roster player on the slate right now.
If boy, that would be a wrench, huh? If McConnell started, because he's deservingly. It might not matter if he starts or comes off the bench. We saw a couple games earlier.
Well, that's the thing. That's why, like, if he doesn't start, the problem is if he doesn't start with knowing Carlisle, his minutes could be anywhere from 15 to 35.
Correct. Especially if Nembhard comes in and makes all of it. Like Nembhard comes in and makes all of his shots, then you're like, oh, we're screwed.
I mean, he hasn't played. Has he played 30 minutes at all this season?
No.
He topped out at 28 in game 3 of the year, and he had 35 fantasy points in that game.
Which goes to show you what it is.
He gave you a 40 fantasy point game in 25 minutes against Miami. You know, he gave you 35 in 23 minutes against Atlanta. Like the dude is just a ridiculous fantasy point per minute producer. They just have him priced. There's a reason why he's probably not gonna be the starter, and yet he's $1,200, $1,500 more than the starter. So
correct.
They're protecting themselves just in case he was to start.
Heady play, John. Very heady play by DraftKings here.
Yeah. So I mean, I like McConnell, but if he starts, he might be the highest roster guy on the slate. We talked about Trey Jones down here at 58, 34 minutes again. He's obviously very efficient shooting the ball lately, but he's been given more opportunities to play. So
yeah, I mean, hard not to like the minutes. Hard not to like the price and the matchup against Detroit, and hard not to like the production. So I don't think there's anything wrong going to Trey Jones here.
I'm not playing Killian Hayes today.
No, I mean he didn't hurt you at all yesterday at 45, but if you got 18 and a half fantasy points at 55, you're dead because he's actually once again getting ownership. Yeah. And the funny part is he's going to score 30 fantasy points tonight at $1,000 more. I mean, it's just the writing's on the wall, right? Like the writing's on the wall. It just is what it is. Like, we have to accept that fact. Depends. He hurt 70% of the field, but like he also was 70% owned, and he didn't. It's not like he put up a 0.
It's true.
So it's like
he gave you like 4.5x.
I mean, I finished top 30 in a contest or top 40 in a contest with Killian Hayes 18 fantasy points. Like there was plenty of ways to. Again, he was 70% owned. If I went and looked at the winning line of my contest, I guaranteed Killian Hayes was in it. The rest of the lineup was good.
Were you chasing Peyton Pritchard?
No, not with everyone healthy.
Okay. You mentioned McLaughlin at 42. You like Smith over him?
Yeah, for sure. I also am skeptical. I've seen some places projecting McLaughlin's minutes. Like he came back from a knee injury.
Sure.
He was out for a month. And hasn't played more than 17 minutes. And I'm not saying that obviously Conley's a starter and whatever, but who's to say NAW doesn't just play 30 minutes tonight and they keep McLaughlin in his normal role? NAW's kind of been exiled, but I think there's a legitimate chance that McLaughlin is still playing 18 to 20 minutes, somewhere in there. So I like Nick Smith quite a bit more, actually.
Then he mentioned if Alvarado's out, gives you Daniels potentially here at 4,200, or Hawkins, I guess, who's a shooting guard only at this point.
Yeah, I like Dyson Daniels quite a bit. The good part is you can play him at point guard and small forward. So, that's obviously a nice little added bonus. And Hawkins for me is also a Zion product. Okay. I would. And Daniels to an extent too, because then it just shortens. Like we're taking 2 guys out of their rotation, Zion and Jose Alvarado. So right. I would probably need both of those guys out to have much interest in. And if Trey Murphy's taken off, his limit, then we're also talking about like minutes from Hawkins and minutes from Daniels, right? So there's a lot that has to break right for New Orleans. That has broken pretty right, but there's a scenario. It's just they run it back, right? Where two guys are out and Murphy's still on the limit. So if that happens, then yeah, Daniels definitely in play. Hawkins definitely in play.
Sure. Shooting guard. Anthony Edwards 91, Jaylen Brown 8,500, Brandon Ingram $8,500. Hero is 79, Derek White 76.
Like this tier is fine. It's fine. Like, Ant obviously has a ceiling. Brown has a ceiling. I feel like if you're playing anyone from here, it's sort of the guy we already talked about. It's Rozier. And then if Zion's out, you can obviously get to Ingram. We didn't even talk about McCollum, but if Zion's out, you play McCollum too. So I would say, like, for me, it's until we know more statuses on guys, I would just say Rozier and kind of move our way down.
Alrighty. Where do we go? What's your next spot? I mean, we have Matherin at $6,400, Kelly Oubre $6,200, Jalen Green $62, Bogdan at $6K here, Jordan Poole $59. Like, what's the next spot for you?
Yeah, I wanted to address the Dez comment on the Matherin thing again because I understand that he has burned us and Rick Carlisle players have burned us in the past. But you look at the ownership today, he's 1% rostered. And you think about what Indiana loses when they lose Halliburton and they plug someone in like a McConnell or like a Nembhard. Neither of those guys do what this guy does.
Right.
And what Halliburton does is not only he's obviously amazing as a facilitator, but he scores 20 a game. The only one you can legitimately say, I would say, on this roster that can go, like, if anyone else on Indiana, John, you had to choose to get you 20 actual in a game, we're choosing Matherin, right?
Probably, yeah. And that's why I took the over 18.5 tonight. I think there's a spot for it.
Yeah, and I think that it's something to be said in that game against Boston where Halliburton goes out. And I know the game prior he played 35 minutes, but he played 29 with a fully healthy team. I think that was the key. Halliburton goes out, he still plays almost 30 minutes with a healthy team because they need the scoring. He is the biggest beneficiary, second biggest beneficiary in terms of usage increases with Tyrese Halliburton off the floor. He leads them in usage rate by 4%. He's at 26.5. Jordan Nwora is second, John, and we know Jordan Nwora doesn't play, so like that number's even like is just skewed a little bit over a fantasy point per minute. And what happens in fantasy and DFS especially, you just have to have that goldfish memory. Like,
yeah. Even in the Atlanta game where they, it was a 34-point blowout here. Aside from the 18 minutes where he still gave you 28 fantasy points here, some big news coming through. Clint Capella out tonight, James. We got a Neke Okongwu in a really great spot here against Philly here. Rudy Gobert also out tonight for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid potentially filling out that front court there against Boston tonight. But back to the Matherin thing. I mean, the minutes here, we were kind of upset because there was a lot of time where it felt like a bit inconsistent. But then now you're starting to see this like 26, 26, 36, 25. Again, blowout game, 35, 29. Feels like his minutes and role are becoming a bit more solidified there. So I imagine with the Capella news, we're probably getting DeJounte Murray news here soon, right? Like,
oh yeah, guaranteed still game time decision for sure. That's my assumption.
Vince Williams getting paid 3-year deal,
Hell yeah. He should, dude, he's good.
Your boy there.
Good.
Wes Matthews is out. We got that one. That's all we got so far. So we'll see if anyone else is going. And Bismack Biyombo getting released. So more news coming through.
Luka out Thursday. No Luka Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Any other shooting guards down here that you like? Podzimski.
That was a spicy little run there of news. So
we're all in on Okongwu here tonight, Des.
Ngakou for sure.
Yeah.
I like Paul Reed, but you can save
Ngakou was
$900.
$4,700.
Yeah, I think Paul Reed 57 and Ngakou 48. So you save $900 and Ngakou power forward center. So like there's just a ton of flexibility there.
I mean, we've talked about it. Like we think that eventually he's their starting center. Just
Yes,
anyway,
he's gonna get traded. He's getting traded
from Capella.
He's getting traded. He got the contract extension. He's getting traded.
Yeah. Yep. All right, back to shooting guard here. Murphy here, obviously, we got to see if he's in the minutes limit or not, but he did start and he played 24 minutes in Sacramento. So encouraging to see if he was the start again. Burks, Podziemski, Poole, anybody down here?
There was one other name I wanted to go back to at 6,500, Malik Monk. Yesterday, the Kings. I don't know if you saw what the Kings did yesterday. They
went down early and then came back.
And this could obviously be a part of it. They exiled both backup point guards yesterday and played Malik Monk as their backup point guard and their backup shooting guard, which has led to 28 minutes and led to 40 fantasy points because he had 20 and 9. They also obviously started Hoarder. They exiled Harrison Barnes and played our boy Trey Lyles. Shout out to us because we've been playing Trey Lyles forever. 32 minutes. If Monk is going to operate as the backup point guard moving forward and just play like backup 1, backup 2, 20 and 9 could be regular. And like we know the ceiling. I mean, look at some of these games late. He had 37 and 9 like 4 games ago.
Yeah.
Against Orlando, and then had 20 and 9 against Detroit yesterday, like in the game where he has foul trouble.
We've always known he was a bucket.
He is an absolute bucket. And if we're getting he like fits in that Matherin category. These guys just have massive ceilings. So I think Malik Monk is another guy that I'm really high on in tournaments. In terms of like other names that you mentioned down here, I mean, obviously the Nembhard thing is interesting. 5,200 is going to start. He's popular. He's going to be, super chalky. Don't care if you fade him. Don't care if I think you obviously plug him in cash. In tournaments, if you fade him, that's fine. He's over a fantasy point per minute without Tyrese Halliburton this year. So that's obviously worth noting. 5,200 over a fantasy point per minute is a really good output. Now, just the question is, does he play the 33, 34, 36 that he played before that recent injury? Or does he play 24 in the middle of that where he got McConnell and TJ McConnell plays? Like there's obviously that elephant in the room as well. So
sure.
Obviously, getting to Nembhard feels good because the field's getting there, but don't be afraid to fade him in tournaments.
Any Duncan Robinson interest?
Sure.
No Martin, no Lowry.
Yeah, him and Josh Richardson both stand to, get some love here. I assume Richardson starts at point guard, and even if he doesn't, he's going to play 30 minutes. That's what his role has been.
Yep. Anybody else?
I don't think so. Okay. I mean, you should see Koulibaly play pretty good minutes without Shamet, but I don't really it's not a priority.
Okay. Small forward position then. You got Jason Tatum here at 10-3. Jaylen Brown's the top 2 guys there in Boston. We talked to Ingram, DeRozan 76, Jalen Williams 7K, Keldon Johnson 7K, Tobias at $6,900, Bojan, who broke the slate last night, 66. So pretty good run of small forwards here.
Yeah, I think Tatum is definitely interesting. He's been on a good run, almost 1.4 fantasy points per minute without Kristaps Porzingis this year. So I could see myself getting to Jason Tatum, who, who's to say he doesn't sit with his injury management stuff lately? Who's to say he plays 40 minutes tonight and doesn't sit tomorrow? Like, there's obviously the chance that happens. Because we saw him on the injury report, I think Tuesday, where they said injury management, and we're like, oh, okay, well, he's just randomly popping up on the injury report. So Tatum's fine. DeRozan's price is obviously appealing. I don't love the matchup, but he's going to play 40 minutes. Jalen Williams, we've talked about a lot lately. The minutes have been great on him. The production has been great and has followed the minutes. You can definitely get there. Keldon's still taking boatloads of shots off the bench. I
mean, those are ridiculous numbers for him.
Yeah, you're not going to get him extended past like 33 minutes, but he's been extremely inefficient with the shots. So if they start to fall for a guy shooting 50 or 45%, then there's a ceiling. That like Detroit was like a lot of pieces in winning lineups last night. Killian, Bojan, Jaden Ivey were all great. Just like obviously he's gonna get all the opportunity. He slowed down, like he was on he had a massive start to that game.
Yeah, they get like 16 points in like the first half, right? So
great first half. Everyone on Detroit just completely fell apart in the second half.
They actually made sure they covered somebody in the second half.
Yeah, they covered somebody in the second half, and so you can definitely get to Bojan 66.
Toby's kind of interesting now that there's not Capella there, honestly. Aganku, obviously a smaller big.
Yep.
He had obviously huge games when Embiid was out of the lineup for that stretch a week plus ago. I mean, $6,900, if we're going to get what we were getting out of him, that's a pretty good value.
Yeah, and it could get better if Melton is ruled out as well.
Right.
We're still waiting on the D'Anthony Melton status. So, yeah, Toby over a fantasy point per minute, 24% usage rate without Melton and Embiid. So I think both stand to be, or Toby stands to be a really good play, especially if Melton's ruled out.
$6,700 for Zach LaVine playing 36 minutes last time out. At some point, he gets too cheap.
Yeah, I mean he's here. He's there. Like I think if I were to play like any bowl tonight, Vooch and LaVine probably are the two guys for me. I know that's like probably not the best because they're the two coming off the injury, but we're not going to see 11 and 8 shots from Zach LaVine on many 30-minute games.
We're used to seeing 2 for 8 and 6 from 11 as his 3-point attempts.
Yeah. I mean, this is a 20. He's a 20 shot attempt. He's a 20 shot attempt guy. So
and we're getting good peripherals that like 3, 5, 2, 5, 4 here. Like you just need to see the scoring go up a little bit. But at 6,700, this is a pretty good. I get it. I know Houston isn't the best of matchups, but if he plays 36 minutes again tonight and goes for 40, he's going to be 7,500 the next slate. So
agreed.
Tournament dart throw, I think, for Zach LaVine here, assuming he's good to go. Oubre at 62, Jaquez 61. Talked Bogdanovich already. Anybody else down here?
Nothing else in this 6K tier, no.
Okay. Underneath, you got Herb at 55, Murphy 56. We talked about Neesmith at $5,100, maybe.
The problem with Neesmith is nothing really changed in their in the front court. Like on the wings, like Halliburton. Who knows who it's going to be ever? Toppin, Neesmith, Hield, Bruce Brown. What if Bruce Brown plays 30 minutes tonight? Like, I don't freaking know. Like, if you want to take a dart on any of them, I'm just more confident in Mathurin because they lost a 20-point score, right? Like, that's not something Neesmith is going to fill the void on a night-to-night basis, or something like Obi Toppin is going to fill the void on that night-to-night basis, or like Buddy Hield isn't going to play make like that. Buddy Hield, if he's going to score that way, he's going to make a lot of threes and So if you want to take a shot on any of those guys other than Mathurin, be my guest, but it's just so fluid. It's just such a fluid situation.
Okay. Anybody else down here then under 5K?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if you saw that Cam Whitmore is actually getting double-digit ownership tonight.
I did.
It's not significant double-digit ownership. He crept into the double digits, but people are catching on that this guy just scores the basketball.
Yeah, he's a bucket.
And he's also rebounding the basketball. So there's definitely a case for Cam Whitmore. I mean,
if I'm making 20 lineups, Cam Whitmore's maybe in 1 or 2, but I don't think I wouldn't put him in a single lineup that build that I'd have.
Agreed. Even with the field, right? Like if we're 10%, if you're MME, if you're an MME player, you're even with the field.
Any interest in Moody here?
I mean, he was in the rotation. If he were to start, then maybe, which I wouldn't put it past him after how bad Wiggins was the other day, and they started Wiggins, right? So if they did like go Moody in the starting lineup, then I think that's interesting. Same NAW. Not that I love
It
the
feels like
spot.
Podziemski probably re-enters the starting lineup here
That
for
would be my
Paul,
guess too.
but that would in turn probably bump Moody, like you said, into that rotation. So
It honestly doesn't. It just feels on like it feels dependent on what Golden State's going to do with Wiggins. Because if they just completely excommunicate Wiggins from the rotation, then Kuminga benefits and Clay benefits and Podziemski benefits and Moody benefits. So like it's just hard to tell because they clearly want to trade Wiggins. He's
yeah,
clearly been floated around in all these deals, and I think everyone else is kind of like fed up with whatever's happened since last year because he was an all-star 2 years
yeah. I mean, we
ago.
still don't know what it was, right? Personal issue that took him away from the team, and never.
Clearly has impacted him all the way up to this point.
Yep. Power forward. Wembayama's $8,900 here on that minutes limit, but he's giving you back-to-back 50 fantasy point games. While playing 25 and 26 minutes, he gets Detroit. Obviously, it is the spot of spots. He's giving you 60 in 24 minutes. Like, he's that kind of freak. So if you want to take the shot on Wemby in a limited role here tonight, you certainly can do so in your tournament lineups. I just continue to go back to Miles Bridges. He's going to play 40 plus minutes. He's going to take a bunch of shots. He's going to be active on the glass. He's going to give you rebounds and steals, blocks and steals rather. If you wanted to just play Rozier Bridges tonight as a fair and balanced build, you're probably locking in two guys with 40 plus fantasy point potential here.
Let me ask you this, because obviously things have changed.
Sure.
Rank Bridges, Towns, Kuzma. No Gobert.
I still don't care too much about Towns in this matchup, but I get it. I understand why he would be more appealing as like the lone center play, but like historically, this doesn't feel like a great matchup for going up against Porzingis or
Singer's
going up
out.
against Horford rather.
Yeah.
Horford has done a really good job at like defending Embiid and Giannis in the past. Like, I don't know. Like, I could see it. I could see a path to Towns. I really like Kuzma, though.
Yeah, me too.
We've talked when Kuzma's in competitive games, he pops. So 48 fantasy points against OKC, 58, 42, multiple 40 fantasy point games here in competitive games. We could be looking at another 35 minutes from Kyle Kuzma tonight against the Pacers team. I really was gravitating towards Kuzma here. I get the Town spot. I do. He's coming off 50, went against Orlando, but I don't know. I feel like if he was still like 72, I'd probably like him more than I do at 79.
I just look at it like, and we've talked about this more lately because we're used to seeing Karl-Anthony Towns at like 9K in the past, and obviously he is obviously bought into Anthony Edwards being the 1A as well. And I'm not saying that's not true, because it is. Like, Edwards is clearly the guy that has ascended the greatest, but here are the numbers. No Gobert, no Conley, and Edwards 32% usage rate, 1.38 fantasy points per minute, obviously elite. Karl-Anthony Towns 28% usage rate, 1.34 fantasy points per minute. Like, basically on par with Edwards. So power forward center, I'm not disputing Al Horford's ability to like defend really good basketball players, because he's done it if you could do it against this year's version of Joel Embiid, which he did this year, then obviously you could do it against anybody, because Joel Embiid's the best player on the planet this year. But it is still too cheap for a guy not without Gobert playing his natural position today, because you assume they had this scenario earlier in the year where they didn't go double big, right? They did not start Naz Reid. They started, I believe they moved McDaniels down and started NAW. I think that was what the lineup was. And theoretically, I guess they could start Naz Reid. I don't know why they would do that, but
I feel like there's just also a lot of narratives, like Boston at home,
getting
Minnesota, just getting to Boston like 3 hours ago, back to back. Like, I don't know.
For sure. I'm it all plays. I'm just sometimes a sucker for the numbers, and the numbers are just saying like almost 29% usage rate, 1.34 fantasy points per minute, back to natural center position. So I'm not shying away from Towns if that's where my build takes me. Like if I'm playing a 3 max tonight.
Are you playing Towns over Kuzma? Because, I mean,
Well,
if your build's taking you to Towns, it's obviously giving you Kuzma unless you're playing both.
well, if I'm playing a 3 max tonight, I'm going to get shares of all three of them.
Sure.
Basically. I think it's just one of those scenarios where I love Kuzma in tournaments, but obviously we know the floor. I love Towns in tournaments. We obviously know what Boston is at home and all this surrounding stuff with Minnesota today. And we like Bridges, the basketball player, when he makes shots, and we like the minutes. But is he a better fantasy play than Towns and Kuzma, especially if like Towns in the situation he's in without Gobert and Conley, or Kuzma in at 250 total in a competitive game? So like, I like them all three of them, and it might not matter because I might just play Jalen Johnson at 7K anyway.
Sure. I mean, obviously now there's no Capella to deal with the rebounding, right? We could see a double-digit rebounding game here out of Jalen Johnson tonight.
How about this? I did this. So I bet the over 8.5 rebounds today, Jalen Johnson. This was pre-Capella news. He over the last 6 games, that was the 6-game span in which he returned from.
Yep.
15.3 rebound opportunities led the team ahead of Capella, ahead of Ngakwe, ahead of name any other Atlanta.
And now you're taking off a guy who gets double-digit rebounds anyways.
Dude, this is, if you didn't smash the 8.5 line earlier, you definitely missed the boat. But like we saw the 15 rebounds against Sacramento, like that's what this upside is for Jalen Johnson right now, because he's already was at 15 rebound attempts per game since returning. Now you take Capella off the floor. It's
up to 9.5 now.
So. No surprise. That is no surprise. Direct correlation to the Capella news.
Yep, agreed. Other guys we've discussed already, like where does Al Horford rank for you tonight? You know they're going to play him minutes. Like he's not going to play tomorrow, so.
You know, even in the dream spot, Indiana, 32 minutes, 21 fantasy points. I'm not saying there's not a ceiling. He's just not a priority for me. At the end of the day, only Porzingis is out. He's still 4th or 5th on the.
Okay. Where are we going next?
I mean, you could definitely go to Keegan Murray if you want to chase. But is it chasing if he's put up 30 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4? I don't know. It's been super good lately. The minutes are super secure and none. Anytime they play New Orleans,
I'm a big fan of jump shooters on the second leg of road back-to-backs. So
that's fair.
Trey Jones officially will start tonight, so we're getting that from Pop right now. So
hell yeah. Maybe we'll get. We haven't heard anything on the Wemby front in terms of a limit increase. So if we were to, that would be something he would announce because he's been actively talking about it. Like if no DeJounte, Sadiq Bey at 55 is fine.
I like Bey anyways. So I actually, I threw together an RT Sports slip for tonight. I took Bey over 6.5 rebounds in that.
That's good. So I wonder what the movement, if there's been movement there, because I also looked at that earlier today. Because he's hit that.
He's been obviously a really good rebounder for them. Now you put a Gonku at the 5, that just opens up more playing time on the wing for Bey and Jalen Johnson there. They don't even have Bey's rebounds on the board anymore. So felt good. Feels good. Yep. Feels good to see. Hopefully,
yep.
On that one for sure. But yeah, Bey's always been a good price. I mean, I don't get the price. Like nothing has changed about his role. The minutes are always there. He takes double-digit shot attempts. He rebounds. Like now he's 5,500 for what?
And obviously, no Hunter, no Capella, maybe no DeJounte.
Right.
That's literally 3 guys playing 30+ minutes, or with the potential to play 30+ minutes tonight.
I like Bey a lot tonight. I wish he was not just power forward only.
Yeah, that hurts.
That definitely hurts a bit. Nas Reed's 52, kind of same thing. Jalen Smith hit 5K there. Agonku, we know we're locking in. Yep. I imagine we're less in on Jovic now that Agonku is there at the same price.
Yeah, no need. No need. Just
Once I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, just playing Ganku.
Anybody else down here, power forward?
I mean, there is like the Trey Lyles thing. Uh, it could have just been like, well, I know I'm not saying he was great, but 32 minutes is 32 minutes for a guy that we know can space the floor and make a lot of shots at times. So, if they're going to continue to just X Harrison Barnes from the equation, which wouldn't surprise me because Harrison Barnes is Harrison Barnes at this point, and unless you get him day one of a season, then he's nothing. He's not even white bread Harry Barnes anymore, John. He's like wheat bread. He's like
I like wheat bread.
All right, he's whole wheat bread or whatever.
Like to me, that'd be like rye bread or pumpernickel.
No, rye bread. No, see, I like rye bread. So whatever the worst bread.
Ubre, the Prince. You missed it. We talked all about Ubre. We like him. We're in.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, and he's better. And he's better if Melton's out. So
yeah.
Whatever the worst bread is, that's what Harrison Barnes is. Because I used to say he's like boring. He'll get you. He doesn't even get you that anymore. I mean, he played 14 minutes last night.
Bread. No carb-free bread.
Carb-free bread. You know what? You know what he is? He's in my middle school. Tried to go healthy back in the day, and they put we had like a little pizza thing, and they tried to put make it wheat pizza.
Okay.
It was the worst idea of all time, and so like that's what Harrison Barnes is. He's wheat pizza crust.
Center position.
Yeah, center. Let's do
that. Sabonis, so you're chasing the 70 fantasy points.
Is it chasing if he continues to put up 70? Like, I don't know. Like, dude, he's just been the best player on this team by like a mile, right? Like, it's De'Aaron Fox is going through whatever De'Aaron Fox is going through right now. And
I almost feel like we have no reason to spend up because we've already talked about like 8 guys that are power forward center eligible that we like.
I don't disagree. But last night, Domantas Sabonis was 7% owned.
Sure.
And he is not a jump shooter on a back-to-back. And we're now talking about a guy with
76, 60, and 77 in 3 of the last 4.
3 triple-doubles over that span. It's just kind of like, I think what is increasing the ceiling, and it's something that you were talking about earlier in the year, like, is the scoring. Because he wasn't giving, like, when he was giving you triple-doubles, it was like 14, 11, and 9, and he was giving you like 51 fantasy points. You're like, well, that's safe at 10K, but like now we're getting 37, 13, and 10, and 24, 15, and 11, and 22, 23, and 12. If they're not going to play a point guard behind De'Aaron Fox, this is where the offense is. I mean, he's already their hub, but I'm just saying, like, it just increases that like hub factor. When it's him and Monk, when it's him and Fox, like everything's just always running through Sabonis. You don't need to play Domantas Sabonis, but I talked about it earlier when we were talking about like the high-priced guys not getting any ownership. If he's not going to get any ownership again, who on the slate has the highest ceiling of the? I mean, I know it's like a hard question to answer, but like SGA hasn't necessarily gone for 77. He can. I'm not putting it past him. Tatum has
we talk a lot about SGA. He's obviously been better of late with the secondary stats, but for the longest time, like he was giving you 4, 3, and 1, and you needed almost 50 actual for him to get you the ceiling. Tatum can give you double doubles with some defense. Trae Young can go score 50 with 11, 10 plus assists. We know what Steph can obviously do. So yeah, from a pure on this specific slate, Sabonis is your triple double king here, right? So
I like, and I'm not disagreeing. Like, we don't need to spend up because we have so many elite mid tier plays. But it's like Faisal's comment earlier. I find myself getting to fair and balance. I tweeted earlier, nobody in this 9K and above tier getting any ownership. It's just kind of one of those things where you look at a tournament and you're like, well, if nobody's spending up and I'm playing, let's say you're playing multiple lineups, play a lineup with Sabonis or a Trae Young or a insert star because they are stars and they have ceilings. And with a Nick Smith and Ngannou opening up, you can still play Sabonis plus Rozier or Sabonis plus Maxey or what Sabonis plus whoever you want, right? So I understand like not wanting to get to a 10K Sabonis necessarily because there's so many good mid-tier plays and you could probably jam 3 of them in today.
Mhm.
But if this is the version we're gonna get on a nightly basis where he's playing 40 minutes a night and scoring like there's ceiling scoring potential,
Mhm.
while we're getting the triple doubles, then I'm gonna have a lot of interest in that guy, like on a night to night basis, especially on a night where he's not getting any ownership again.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Again, 10K isn't egregious of a price either. It just obviously then takes out some of the guys we want because we do like some of the power forward center plays here. Working our way down. I mean, are you in on Bam at all tonight at 88, Şengün at 82, Chet, Vucevic, Duran, any of these prioritized for you?
I wouldn't say prioritize. Like Bam is safe.
I
We're
like
not
the
getting.
price on him at 88.
Yeah, the price is nice. There's obviously a ceiling. He's giving us a really nice floor. It's a double double. It's a 20-point double double every night, and then it just depends on like where he takes that. Is
Sure.
it 28 and 14? Is it 22 and 12 with
He
no
had the
blocks and
random triple
steals?
double,
Yeah,
recently.
the random. Yeah, and which he is a very willing and good passer, but with Tyler Hero dominating the ball, will that happen as much? So, I like Bammy safe. I think Şengün, we saw last game, 33 minutes. Like he gets taken out sometimes for defense, and if Vooch is torching him, I do think that there's like a case to be made where he's going to get taken out again for
Sure.
defense, but he still puts up fantasy points in low 30s. Chet has the ceiling. I don't think he's going to have the ceiling against Bam. I do think Vooch is kind of interesting because Şengün is bad defensively.
Yeah, now it's
Yeah,
good value tonight. DraftKings 51, I think it was, right? Something like that.
yeah, 52.
52? Yeah, good value. Good value for him
He's
for
on one of
sure.
those runs, right? He's on one of those. He's on one of those like patented Nas Reed heaters where he gets on the floor and he just is a fantasy point per minute monster.
Yep, but now we move him into the starting lineup, or maybe move him into the starting lineup, and we'll have to see if he's able to sort of carry that production over, playing with different guys and in different rotations there. I mean, Drummond did the nutty thing the other day, 21 and 15, 23 minutes. I
He's
don't
so
know.
funny. He's so funny.
I don't know, but to the Prince's point, Charlotte gives it up to the bigs, and they gave it up to both
Yep.
Bulls bigs the other day. Vucevic and Drummond had double doubles, so definitely Sabonis potential there. Gafford at 58 is always a GPP tournament play. We were in on the Paul Reed, as we said on the morning show. We're still fine with Paul Reed, but when Agonquo's at 48, you know, hard to want to spend $1,000 more on somebody, right? When this has been our guy all season, anyways.
Yeah. And like Paul Reed's fine. It not that like I think either of us dislike Paul Reed. Honestly, both guys are like a fantasy point per minute with the guys that are out. But one guy's multi-position eligible and almost $1,000 cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the end of the day, if you wanted to play both, you can play both. If you can only play one, I'm gonna take the guy with the same production for $900 cheaper and better eligibility. So
If Nas Reed was starting, would you play Agonquo or Reed?
ooh, that's a spicy one because like you just have to assume, and we can do this, and it doesn't necessarily matter because Boston switches Drew Holiday onto center, so it like doesn't matter. Like Tatum's guarding Nas Reed in that instance, and like Nas Reed's a big boy for Jason Tatum.
Sure.
I probably still lean in Ngannou, but I also am good with playing both.
Sure.
Both power forward center eligible. Um, both, I guess, would be the answer. I'm skeptical of the Nas Reed thing. I guess earlier in the year when NAW was starting, they also weren't missing 2 starters. It was just
Right.
1, and now they're missing Conley and Gobert. So that's obviously a thing. I'll go Ngannou over Reed, but it's super close, and both are like tier 1 value plays.
Okay. Any other centers?
I don't think there needs to be. I guess it's worth mentioning that Bruno Fernando is probably your backup center for Atlanta today.
Okay. Yeah, you get the murder cornet, you know?
You get the murder cornet as your backup center. Cornet is 44. Plays, we've seen it. He played 16 minutes in the Indiana game, the first one. And I believe that was the game that Porzingis got poked in the eye. So
It was, yeah.
we saw kind of what the outlook of Cornet's minutes are going to be when Porzingis is out. So can he get it done in 60 minutes? And then I'll give a hat tip to Dominic Barlow too, John, who continues to play kind of the backup center minutes for Spurs. 22 minutes last game. If Wemby's going to play limited minutes, this guy's a fantasy point per minute freak. 20, 19, 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and 13, 15, and 22 minutes. So there's a couple like punty centers if you wanted to go to. Obviously, Fernando, as you mentioned too, but I don't think you need to get any there like down here necessarily.
Sure. All right, let's get to the build. Number 1 plug is Ngannou.
Yeah, probably Ngannou, Nick Smith. Probably like the 2 value plays that lets us do whatever we want.
68, 63 are remaining spots here. You were in on Maxey Rozier.
Yeah.
Could probably play them both.
Yeah, we can play them both for sure.
Especially are they all guards?
Rozier shooting guard.
Okay, there we go. 5,900. I like Bay. 55.
King of Smack, Porzingis is out.
Yep.
Officially, that's already happened.
Yep.
Al Horford is in. Kristaps Porzingis is out.
Yep. What's our next play? What do we have a little fair balance build going on? Any other values that you're looking particularly at? Ben Mathurin, probably.
I was going to say Mathurin. Yeah, I think we should plug Mathurin. 64.
Mathurin fills a small forward. 58.50 remaining for 2 spots here, so we can see if there's another value that we wanted to plug.
52.
Who?
Nasri.
Reed. 52. Yep. And then 6,500 for the util is Malik. If you want to go there again.
Yep, I do. Sure do.
All right, little fair and balanced example lineup for everybody here this evening. It takes us full circle all the way back to our guy Faisal saying he's getting a lot of fair and balanced lineups. So there is a fair and balanced lineup built for all of you there. Nick Smith, Terry Rozier, Ben Mathurin, Sadiq Bey, and Eki Ngannou, Tyrese Maxey, Naz Reid, and Malik Monk. Make sure you get in that Discord. I know we had Cameron in here asking where do we get the NBA news. Crackerjack did a great job letting everybody know that in our Discord channel. It is actually free channel in our Discord. You can get access to all the latest news right there. If you want to go ahead and sign up to be a member of the Fantasy Storm family, you'll get access to all of our premium Discord channels where you get, access to myself, Grande, Sean Mitchell, the whole team in there chatting about today's slate, giving you all the latest news and updates. I'll just throw this out there for everybody. You can kind of get an idea of what the Discord channels look like, but there it is. If you want to go sign up, you see we're in there all day sharing screenshots of lineups, talking about the slate and all the good stuff there. So those are the premium channels, but we do have our NBA lineups channel, which brings you all the latest news throughout the day there. So if you're not yet already a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, you can do so now simply by scanning the QR code. If I can find it correctly here on the screen somewhere. 1 second, everybody. Let's go. There it is. Coming up on the screen in a moment. Bingo. Scan the QR code. Remember the Fantasy Storm family. I get the Jeopardy music there. FantasyStorm.com/win. Become a member of the Fantasy Storm family. Get access to all the premium channels in there. But if not, you can go ahead and just sign up and join the Discord there. Get access to our free channels where you have the lineup news happening. Throw that link in the Discord for you guys there. King of Smack not doing Hauser tonight. Now with everybody back in. Not a great spot for him. I know the price is dipped, which is fine. I like that he's in that mid 4Ks again, but we just ran down like 9 other mid 4K plays at that price that you can throw in there. So that's where we're at here tonight, everybody. Get in the Discord, find us on Twitter. If you have any questions, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.